Hi there, Farmer Jane here out at Specht Haven. Today I'm going to give you a tour of the Hummingbird Garden. So just a little background information here real quick. When I first bought this property several years ago, it's coming up on 9 years. When we first purchased the property and I came out a couple of different times exploring, looking at all the fruit trees, trying to see what kind of trees we had, I would come through this area here, and one day I was standing right about here somewhere and something buzzed by my head, and it really scared me until I realized it was a hummingbird. So I was right out here, happy that I had a hummingbird fly by, and as I looked over, of course it wasn't at all landscaped, it was pretty rough, full of lots of really tall grass and other things, but I could tell that there was a little bit of a pathway through the apricot trees you see here to the right and these 3 nectarine trees. There was a 4th one at the time. There was a 4th one right around here where my shadow is, but it was, I believe it was struck by lightning or something. It actually kind of cracked in half. So as I was looking, I thought this would be a really cool place where we kind of go through this area, and I named it Hummingbird Pass, since I thought of it as a kind of a lane going through the nectarine trees on the left, the apricot trees on the right. So this has always been in my mind as Hummingbird Pass, coming in front of these trees and out till you get to kind of an open area out there. So then a year or 2 ago, I started thinking about planting around these nectarine trees, and I had the idea, other than putting things that are good for the trees right around them, kind of in circles, I had the idea to do some flowers for hummingbirds. So this has really taken shape, especially today. It literally has taken shape with this front border. But last year I did a lot of work here, worked a lot more on the edge. The front edge was done, about a year ago or more, and now I have completed around this tree, and just today I added the brick for the edge here. There's my dog Libby. She always likes to go right through the pretty areas I finish. So this is the Hummingbird Garden, which is along Hummingbird Pass. So we have here a nectarine tree, and his name is Ferdinand. Then we have a larger area here in between Ferdinand and the next tree, which is Francis. So this is the area that I will for sure fill with lots of flowers for the hummingbirds. I did have some cardinal flower here last year. I believe I had also some smaller red flowers. There are a few perennials around Ferdinand. There's some penstemon. I did plant at the very end of the year some agastache that was on clearance, and then there's a couple other, a different kind of penstemon that I hope will come back. So there's a few perennials right around Ferdinand. There's also a lot of wild green onion of some kind, which I go ahead and leave that since it's a pest deterrent, so I sometimes go and break it off and kind of spread it around the tree to hopefully deter some pests. I did get a little patch of daffodils right there at the end of last year. So the shepherd hooks here, I will put hummingbird feeders on each hook, and that worked really well last year. I definitely saw some hummingbirds. And last year I planted black-eyed Susan vine on the shepherd hooks. I think I'm going to do something red this year. I was trying to do cardinal vine that I'm trying to start from seed. It's not working quite yet, but I might do that. I do have black-eyed Susan vine again, though, that I started from seed, and I think I'm going to put that on my teepee. I have to fix the teepee here, maybe give it a little more support this year. So I'll put the black-eyed Susan vine there, and I do have a coreopsis in the middle, if that will hopefully come back. There are a couple more perennials right in there, a different kind of cardinal flower, and I think some other agastache, so hopefully those will come back. A few more daffodils that I snuck in here, so I think I just tucked in a few at the very end of my planting of bulbs last year. Then also up here by Francis, there's some kind of chive that's a perennial chive, and also a heuchera. that this one doesn't look as pretty as the one we'll see on the other tree. This one I think didn't get as much warmth and protection over the winter. But I finished the edge here, and this also gives me a little bit of a mowing path, or I may end up, continuing to put something here more like a walkway, because that will also make something that I don't have to mow. And then I do have a little patch of daffodils here, which I actually added to those today. I had one batch left of daffodils that I didn't get planted, so I kept them in the refrigerator, and I just got those in the ground today. So this is a really nice little area in between this tree, which is Fantasia. So all three of the nectarine trees are called Fantasia nectarines. That's the variety. So I named this one Fantasia, then Francis, and then Ferdinand. So they all start with an F. So in between Fantasia and Francis here, I was really enjoying that spot, looking out at the water, which I'll show you in a minute. And I got this bench from my grandma last year from her house, before we sold her house after she passed. So I'm really happy to have this bench that was hers. And I brought it out last year, but I had it sitting on the mulch, and it's a glider, so it wasn't gliding while it was sitting on the mulch. So last weekend I completed the little brick foundation so that I could put the bench on a nice solid surface, and now it glides. And then I have just the patch of daffodils on each side, so I think that turned out really cute. I had tried to do fennel in those areas last year. I was only partially successful. So again, as I was planting daffodils at the end of the year, I was really just finding places to put them, and I put them in those two spots, but I did add, so there'll probably be like 2 or 3 times as many as you see now. And then a repeat here of the chive, a perennial chive, and the heuchera. So you can see this one is much prettier. So I believe this was called Berry Sunday, I think. I really like the heucheras. There are a couple of other chives that I planted. There's definitely a couple still here around Fantasia. I'm not sure if the other ones are coming through. I think there's just a couple around Francis. And I don't think I put any by Ferdinand because he has so many of the wild green onions. So then finally here, again at the end of my planting of daffodils, because I really intended to get a lot more out in my far orchard around all of those trees, but I started running out of time and I didn't have the areas prepared, so I thought I would just do a big drift of daffodils right here. And my only regret is that I put the small ones closer to the tree and the bigger ones to the outside, but that's okay. Maybe we'll add another ring of the small ones this year, because I do want to pull this out just a little bit more. So with my gardens, I'm really trying to make it so that the edges go well with mowing. And I did realize as I was making those lines already this year that I need this area to be out just a little bit more, because as you can see, the branches there are a little bit lower, and I'll trim them a little bit, but I don't want to trim too much of any of the trees. So I will bring that out just a little bit. So maybe I'll get that same daffodil and put kind of almost an edge of those cute smaller ones when I bring out that ring curved around the tree. So this is looking really good. I have one other big idea for this garden, which is I want to put right here behind the bench and up against the stone edging. I want to put a trellis, and I want to do pots, different planters, and put vines in those planters and have a trellis right here, so that then in the summer, as this beautiful sun comes down in the evening, the trellis with the vines will give us a little bit of shade so we can still sit at the bench. So here you can see the other edge from this direction. And the last thing I plan to do is finish the edging, which I intended to put some gravel or rock in front of the nice edge. So there will be another layer of edging. And I'll just show you very quickly, come back up here to the bench, and we'll look out. So again, looking through these two trees Just looks really nice looking out at the water. It's a really pretty area of the lake. So this is Hummingbird Garden, which is right along, again, this kind of lane coming through, which I call Hummingbird Pass. So stay tuned for more progress. Hopefully we'll have lots of beautiful flowers this year. Definitely lots of reds and purples down there by the hummingbird feeders. And then around the trees, I'll do more things that will be beneficial to the nectarine trees. I'm planning to do chamomile for sure, chamomile and chives, and some other beneficial plants. Stay tuned for the progress. See you next time.